So are theatres back? This is a common question now because, of course, the world's sort of opening back up. And in the meantime, in the interim, during all of this pandemic, people have been really pushing the idea of streaming. Everyone and their gran has a streaming service that they're providing nowadays. So are theatres back? Well, it would seem that the box office does actually indicate that. There has been some very strong box office results across the weekend. And it just gets more and more. It's just better and better each time, which I think personally is fantastic. I'm a lover of the theatre. I really do enjoy going to the cinema, get my little popcorn, stuff my fat little face, love some nachos. All of that is good stuff for me. Love it. Obviously, minus some, noisy people here and there, but I enjoy the movie-going experience. So I'm much happier to go to the theatres than I am just to sit on my arse at home and watch a streaming and kind of pay for it. And I have done a stream about this, how it's a disposable movie experience in that you want to throw it away a little bit more, whereas going out, it's a whole thing. It can be more of a wide-reaching experience. So what have we got to take a look at today? Well, there's been a few interesting tidbits of information. There's 3 major movies out. There's The Conjuring, there's Cruella, and then there's A Quiet Place Part 2. Quiet Place Part 2 has already had its sequel/spin-off movie greenlit. It was greenlit last year, and that's moving ahead now faster and faster because, of course, the results speak for themselves. People like those movies. They're made on tiny budgets by comparison, and they make a lot of money. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. This is another movie which would have been made on absolutely pittance by comparison to other Hollywood films. And it's actually done really well, to be perfectly honest. So as you can see here, this is just a report from Deadline, but they break it down very nicely. So you can see that it's just crossed 100 million globally. That's fantastic. And that is in its 3rd weekend. That part's not so fantastic. Obviously, people in charge, the financiers, the studios, so on and so forth, would probably want that at the very least in its 2nd weekend. Ideally in its 1st weekend, but it hasn't really been opened up in a lot of markets. As you can see at the end there, there's 18 more markets to go. So the fact that it's still crossed 100 million in its 3rd week, not so bad. But you can see here, it had 23.4 million in 51 overseas markets for a 68 million offshore. Accumulation. That's pretty good, to be perfectly honest. And it's had 111.8 million worldwide. Not bad at all. Will it be able to hold off any longer than that? We'll sort of have to see how it goes. But it didn't drop that much. It didn't drop that much at all. You can see Australia only had a 23% drop. That's really good. Normally they're 50 plus drop-offs from week on, week out. So it's actually been holding pretty strong, and it still seems to be holding. And whether it continues into its 4th, 5th, whatever weekend, especially with respect to these 18 more markets to go, we'll have to see. But there's the first bit of news. Again, the first indication that movie theatres are indeed back, and I think that's a pretty strong indication there. Now, the second one is Cruella. This is an interesting one because they've already greenlit the sequel. Look, I didn't hate the film. I've done a review of it. I didn't hate the film. I actually think objectively it's a good film spawned from a pretty bad idea. So as long as you can kind of keep that out of your mind, spoiler alert, you can't, because you are literally thinking throughout this film, that's a confirmed puppy killer. She kills puppies. What's going on here? It's not a bad film, but you start to sort of question whether you like, why you like this individual, because again, she is a confirmed puppy killer. But I think what Disney were doing with this movie anyway, because they have confirmed there's a sequel in the works already, I think they're trying to rewrite 101 Dalmatians, basically. They're going away from all of that, and, this is not going to tie into it. They didn't even get the car right, the steering wheel was on the wrong side of the road, which they had correct for the cartoon. So we know that they're not paying that much attention to this film in that respect when it's tied to 101 Dalmatians, the animation. But like this article says anyway, Disney's Cruella saw strong holds in overseas play, including increases in some areas, which that is actually a surprise, to be fair, that it actually increased in some areas. Now it is available on Disney Plus for an extra fee, so that's fine, whatever. I still think that's a pretty bad business model to go down, and that was kind of proved with Mulan as well. And we know that that's proved with Mulan, mainly, and we know it's a bad business move, mainly because they're not doing it with Black Widow. They're not doing it with big films that they think are going to be a huge success. So Black Widow, I think, ends up on Disney Plus 3 months after, 3 or 4 months after it's been in theatres. That's a pretty standard window, actually. And you'd think that they would have fast-tracked that, but they haven't. So you know now, I think, we can safely say anyway, that any movie they choose to simultaneously play on Disney Plus, they don't actually have a lot of faith in. Which actually adds even more to the peculiarity of why they even greenlit a sequel to this, when they clearly don't think that it's that good. But anyway, whatever. Now, it fell by 25% in certain markets, respect to where the streaming service is actually available. So that's a pretty big drop off, not as massive as you'd expect though. But it added 17.6 million in 39 markets to take the offshore accumulation to 73.3 million, and a global total of 129.3 million. This has a rumoured budget of nearly $200 million or something insane like that. And I just think to myself, like, well, why did you make this? What is going on? For like $1 to $200 odd million, you could make a much better movie for that, but never mind. So there you go. There's, again, the other strong indicator that, yeah, movie theatres are definitely back. But this is perhaps the strongest one, and this is what everyone's leading with, is A Quiet Place Part 2. A Quiet Place Part 2 is nearing 200 million globally. So it's a pretty damn big success. Pretty damn big success. Now, they've crossed 100 million domestically this weekend, so the weekend just closing. Paramount, obviously, raised now 184.8 million globally, and that's following an offshore. Basically, the offshore total was 16 million in 37 markets, including 21 new opening, which means Emily Blunt and A Quiet Place in total. 66% of the international footprint, and the holdover markets dropped only 54%, which is not bad. It's not too bad. I'm sure they probably would have wanted to hold on a little bit more than that, but as it goes, 54%, not terrible. Normally, they kind of drop off a bit quicker. The UK actually added 2.1 million. I'm quite surprised by that, because I saw it on a bank holiday weekend when it was open on like a Monday, an advanced screening, and then I think it opened on the Thursday following. So the fact that that actually did pretty well, that's a surprise, because we've had some very, very hot weather. You can probably tell I'm a little bit red in the UK, and a lot of people have just been out and about. I don't think many people want to just sit inside. Lots of people have been cooped up inside for far too long, so they've just been enjoying the outdoors. So that's pretty impressive, to be fair, for the UK. But again, this just adds to the overall question and sort of the headline title. It was probably not the headline title of the video, but it doesn't matter. Is theatres back? Are theatres back? Are they going to be the roaring success that they once were? I think that there's a strong possibility of that. And I think as well, there's indicators that the studios believe that too. Like I said, Disney, Black Widow, if they thought that streaming was the future, they thought their Disney Plus and that business model of putting movies that they've released, or they are going to release in theatres, straight on Disney Plus, simultaneously. If they thought that was successful, they'd be doing it with Black Widow. If they thought that that was what was going to bring in the money, they'd be doing it with Black Widow, because that's a tentpole film for them, or it should be, minus what people believe of it. And they're not. In fact, they've broken their business model specifically for Black Widow. Everything else has done what they've said they were going to do, but Black Widow, no, don't worry, we're just going to change it, guys. We're just going to change it. 3 months down the line. So I think studios are now indicating that that is the case. But never mind, guys. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. If you are new here, please do hit subscribe. And if you stayed this long and you are new here, like I said, hit subscribe, hit that like button on your way out. You clearly enjoyed the video. But thank you so much. Take care.